The Korean Peninsula is a beautiful place with a long history. Its landscapes are breathtaking, from the serene mountains to the bustling cities, each telling a story of a rich cultural heritage. But it has a deep scar. It's split in two. This division is not just a line on a map, it represents decades of conflict and separation. North Korea and South Korea used to be one country sharing the same language, culture, and history. Families lived together and there was a sense of unity. But big countries fought and different beliefs pulled them apart. The end of World War II saw Korea divided along the 38th parallel, with the Soviet Union occupying the north and the United States the south. This split changed the lives of millions of Koreans. Families were torn apart, and the once unified nation was now divided by ideology and politics. A terrible war from 1950 to 1953 made the split permanent. The Korean War was brutal, with millions of lives lost and cities destroyed. It left behind anger, mistrust, and the fear of another war. The armistice signed in 1953 ended the fighting, but not the conflict. Why is Korea still divided? The Demilitarized Zone, DMZ, stands as a stark reminder of the ongoing tension and the fragile peace. It's a big question about why people fight and why peace is so hard to find. Despite numerous attempts at reconciliation, the path to peace remains elusive. To understand why North and South Korea are like they are today, we have to look back at how it all started. The roots of this division run deep. We have to look back at how it all started. The early 20th century was a tumultuous time for Korea, marked by foreign occupation and internal strife. We'll start with when Japan ruled Korea. The Japanese occupation from 1910 to 1945 was a period of harsh control and resistance, and how two Koreas appeared after World War II. The end of Japanese rule brought hope for independence but also set the stage for division. For hundreds of years, Korea was one kingdom. But things got bad in the late 1800s and early 1900s. Japan, a growing power, took over Korea in 1910. Japan was very strict. They wanted Koreans to be Japanese, so they tried to stop Koreans from speaking their language and having their own culture. Koreans were forced to work for Japan. Even though it was hard, Koreans still fought back. Some fought in Korea, others from other countries. When Japan lost World War II in 1945, Korea was free again. But this freedom wasn't simple. Two big, powerful countries were starting to fight each other and Korea got stuck in the middle. After World War II, the United States and the Soviet Union emerged as the two most powerful countries in the world. Their influence extended across continents, shaping the political landscape of the 20th century. They had very different ideas about how governments should work. The United States championed democracy and capitalism, while the Soviet Union promoted communism and a state-controlled economy. Korea was right between these two giants and became part of their fight. This small peninsula in East Asia found itself at the center of a global struggle for power and ideology. Korea was split in half at a line called the 38th parallel. This division was meant to be temporary, primarily due to the decision of the Allied powers to establish separate occupation zones in the Korean Peninsula, and as a stopgap measure to oversee the surrender of the Japanese forces until a more permanent solution could be found. The Soviet Union controlled North Korea, and the United States controlled South Korea. Each superpower installed a government in 1948 that aligned with its own ideology. This was only supposed to be temporary, but it became permanent. The ideological divide hardened, and the two Koreas developed along very different paths. In 1950, North Korea, with help from the Soviet Union and China, attacked South Korea. This surprise invasion marked the beginning of the Korean War. They wanted all of Korea to be communist. The North Korean leadership aimed to unify the peninsula under a single communist government. The United States and other countries helped South Korea. Under the banner of the United Nations, a coalition of forces came to South Korea's aid, determined to repel the communist advance. The Korean War was a terrible war that lasted 3 years and killed millions of people. The conflict saw brutal fighting, with both sides suffering heavy casualties. The fighting stopped in 1953, but there was no real peace treaty. An armistice was signed, but it was merely a ceasefire, not a formal end to the war. A heavily guarded area called the Demilitarized Zone, or DMZ, split North and South Korea. This buffer zone became one of the most fortified borders in the world. The war was over, but the two Koreas were still enemies. The legacy of the Korean War continues to shape the geopolitics of the region to this day. with tensions often running high across the DMZ, the fallout of the Cold War between the two superpowers, the US and Soviet Union. After the war, North and South Korea became very different. North Korea, led by Kim Il-sung and his family, became a strict communist country. They focused on their military and didn't want help from other countries. South Korea, after some time with strict rulers, became a democracy and focused on business. They got help from the United States and sold things to other countries. Today, North and South Korea are very different. North Korea is poor and isolated, and its people don't have many freedoms. South Korea is a modern country with a strong economy and lots of freedom. The different paths of North and South Korea show how much a government's beliefs can change a country. Even though North and South Korea have been enemies for a long time, they have tried to be friends sometimes. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, South Korea tried to be friends with North Korea by giving them aid and sharing culture. Leaders from both countries even met. But these times of peace didn't last. North Korea kept building nuclear weapons, which made other countries angry. Bad things also happened, like when a South Korean ship was sunk and a South Korean island was attacked. Even so, people still want peace. Recently, there have been more talks, but North Korea's nuclear weapons and the mistrust between the two countries make peace difficult. Many Koreans, especially older people, want North and South Korea to become one country again, but it would be very difficult. North and South Korea are very different economically, and it would be hard to combine their governments. Also, they have very different beliefs, and it's hard to forget the past. Some people think it's possible, like when East and West Germany became one country. Others think it's better to take small steps, like working together on business and culture. Nobody knows what will happen to Korea, but the decisions made by the two Koreas and other countries will be important for everyone. Korea being split shows how bad fighting can be. The Korean Peninsula, once a unified nation, was torn apart by ideological differences and external influences, leading to a devastating conflict. And how long the effects of war can last. The Korean War killed millions of people, leaving scars that are still visible today. Families were separated, cities were destroyed, and the landscape of the peninsula was forever changed, and divided the country. Since then, North and South Korea have become very different places. North Korea, under a strict regime, remains isolated, while South Korea has flourished into a vibrant democracy and economic powerhouse. Sometimes they have tried to make peace, engaging in various diplomatic efforts and summits. These moments of hope have shown the world that reconciliation is possible. But it hasn't lasted. North Korea's nuclear weapons and military provocations have often derailed these peace efforts, and the bad feelings between the two countries, fueled by decades of propaganda and mistrust, make peace hard to achieve. The heavily fortified DMZ stands as a stark reminder of the ongoing conflict. It's hard to say what will happen, but people still hope for peace. Citizens on both sides of the border long for reunification and a future where they can live without fear. Korea's story makes us ask important questions. How can a nation overcome such deep divisions? Can North and South Korea become friends again? The emotional reunions of separated families show the deep human desire for connection. Can other countries help them make peace? International efforts and diplomatic interventions have played crucial roles in easing tensions. And what can we learn from Korea about how to stop wars and make a more peaceful world? The lessons from Korea's history are invaluable. These questions make us think about how bad it is when countries are divided and the importance of unity, and how important it is to talk to each other. Dialogue and understanding are key to resolving conflicts, and find ways to solve problems. By learning from Korea's past, we can work towards a more harmonious future for all.